today we have our gold play button.
I can't believe it's finally here. Here we go!
Whoa! That is huge!
I see you staring.
All right, what's up, everybody? I'm here with Dan Markham. This is a special guest today. He hasn't been on Shark Tank yet, but he's actually the founder of a YouTube channel called What's Inside. I'm looking at it now. It looks like we just hit 3.5 million subscribers, which means you're a pretty big deal. Dan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks for having me. No, I'm happy to be here.
So I look at your YouTube channel and I think, all right, there's two possibilities here. You're a workaholic who's putting in 18 hours a day getting top quality videos out, or you've got a staff of 10 people who do that and you work like 4 hours a week like Tim Ferriss and you're basically just traveling and sipping virgin daiquiris. Which one is it?
You know, it started out with, I read Tim Ferriss, I read The 4 Hour Work Week years ago, and I kind of lived off of that, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad were kind of my two books. But then I thought, you know, if we could make a little extra money on YouTube, maybe this could be like our little thing that's just raising money while we're not doing anything. But it turns out being a YouTuber is a lot of work. So I've been working a lot of hours, slept probably 3 hours last night. It's usually 1 or 2 nights a week. I just don't even sleep. I just stay up and edit all night. Just me and my son, and we don't really have a team of editors or anybody that does anything for us. So we've just kind of learned YouTube on our own over the last year and a half. But
you got child labor, though. That's important. When's the government going to come and say, you know, we're not actually going to allow your son to do any work for you until he's 16?
I know. I've thought about that. The good thing for him is that he comes along for the fun. He gets to go to see the experiences. We cut things open. And as soon as it's time to get to work and do all the other stuff, he gets to go have fun and be a 10-year-old. So
that's awesome. Awesome. So for those of you watching, I'm actually going to post this on my Shark Tank podcast channel as well as my other one. So the links will both be there so you guys can check that out down below. But the reason I want to have Dan on is because not only is he an interesting entrepreneurial success story, I think there are too many business owners today who aren't utilizing YouTube efficiently, effectively, or at all, which is probably a crime that we need to resolve here. So let's talk a little bit about the start of your YouTube career. I know you were a professional, you're in the medical industry. You were in Arizona for a while, so we never synced up, but that's pretty much the extent of what I know about you. So kind of take us through the early days and how it all started.
Yeah, so I was a biotech sales rep for 11 years. I actually just
Viagra?
left. I did sell Viagra for a while. Yep. I missed the birth of our third child because I was selling Viagra in San Francisco to a bunch of urologists. So different story, but kind of funny. But we moved up here to Utah, and my son at his elementary school, he had this project that was, it's a scientific project, and basically you just ask a question and then you show a poster board and you answer it. And because I've been in sales, even though I'm in front of a camera now and everything, I used to be so shy. And growing up, I never spoke in front of people that often, and especially in public, I wouldn't talk in front of people. And so I didn't want him to have the same issues. And so every year for his presentation, even though his teacher didn't make him do it, I said, you have to give a presentation in front of your class. And then we'd work on it, we'd practice, and he would do a presentation. And so I wanted to step it up a little bit this year. And he wanted to do what's inside of sports balls as his scientific question. So instead of just printing off pictures off the internet and showing those and putting them on a poster board like most people would want to do. Yeah, I'm not good at tools. I went into Ace Hardware and bought this little saw and got him some sports balls, and we cut them open one day, and I just set up my iPhone and filmed the whole thing. And then at the end of his presentation, I had him say, and if you want to see my dad cutting these open, you can go to my YouTube channel. And we changed the name to youtube.com/Lincoln Markham so that the kids could find it easy. And really, I knew like maybe 1 or 2 kids would look at it, but it was really so his teacher would say, man, that was a good presentation. Nobody else did that. They don't have a YouTube channel. Well, about a year later, randomly, we made $4 in one day off of AdSense. And I remember it was like December 16th, 2014, I think was the date. Yep. And then, and so I was like, all right, Lincoln, maybe we have something here. Maybe if we started doing more videos and we learned a little bit more about YouTube, maybe we could make some money and you could maybe pay for your mission or for college someday. And so January 2015, What's Inside started. I changed the name to What's Inside. I hit all the 100 family videos we had on there. I paid a guy in Pakistan $40 to make the What's Inside logo that we still have on our page. And I started studying it. I had my day job, but I was on the road 3 days a week. And so in the evenings, I would just stay up and read everything I could about YouTube. And in April 2015, we hit 1,000 subscribers, which was a huge milestone for us. And we went out to ice cream that day. We were pumped. And then a week later, we hit 2,000. We were kind of blown away.
That's nuts.
Yep. So it just started growing and growing. And then that's when I started to realize we have ourselves an actual business. And people, I didn't realize how much kids are on YouTube. I mean, that's a lot of kids are on YouTube all the time, more than they watch TV. And so August, we hit 100,000 subscribers. Lincoln was on the news and did his first ever live interview and nailed it, did a great job. And then November hit, we had a few videos that just started to go viral, completely viral. And it was interesting because over a 7-day period in November, we were the third most subscribed channel in the entire world, right behind Adele and Justin Bieber. And then it was What's Inside. And we were just, I didn't know what was happening with this thing, but it was at that point when I knew we had something big.
Yeah, I suspect so. I mean, you guys are a YouTube freak show, basically. It's the numbers are crazy. Okay, here's the I'm gonna little background on my side. I forget. I think LinkedIn said, here's someone you should link in with, and I saw that you were in Phoenix. I'm like, oh, cool, he's a YouTuber. So I have a similar story in terms of the first AdWords experience. I was doing podcasting for a long time. The audience was growing. I was getting opportunities, having a lot of fun with it. And I had paid someone overseas to make 2 videos for me. One for Freshly Picked, who's in Utah. I don't know if you know who Susan Peterson is. She makes little leather booties. She was on Shark Tank.
Okay.
The moccasins. And then I think it was Fiberfix. So both Utah entrepreneurs. And one day I got a notification from YouTube about a video subscriber count. And I went on there and the Freshly Picked video had made like $25 after being there for a couple months. And you say, $4 in a day or $25. I'm like, wait a second. The light bulb goes off. You're like, I'm charging sponsors a couple $100s per show. YouTube, I don't even have to hassle with YouTube. They don't call me. They don't email me. They don't want to know the view count. So same thing. I put my Marcus Lemonis video up, and after 2 months, I think it was $100. I'm like, okay, I need to start looking into this a little bit. So when I saw your invite, I clicked on it, and the first video I saw was you doing the gold play button with Casey Neistat or Neistat, I always say it wrong, in his office, and I thought, holy crap, like Dan's a celebrity. He's a YouTube phenom. And then I looked at I didn't realize it was this fast, but I saw you'd only been on YouTube for like 2 years. Is there anyone who's gotten to 3.5 million subscribers as fast as you have?
I'm sure there's been a few channels over the years. There's a couple that have grown really fast, some beauty and some toy channels over the last year, but we definitely are one of the biggest success stories, I think, in the last year on YouTube. I mean, 3 million subscribers, from 0 to 3 million in a year, basically, is what we did. But we're at 370 million views right now, which is unbelievable. And for a lot of channels that grow really fast, sometimes they have big budgets, and really it's just us with our one camera that I got half off at Best Buy because it was an open box item. I've used a tripod that I bought at the local thrift store for $3, and I'm editing myself at every one of the videos, and so it's pretty amazing that it has gone the way that it has. I've studied a lot about YouTube, and at the same time, there's a lot of luck that involves with it, and then I think that it's interesting because the father and son relationship, kids really relate to just seeing us together and something positive and family friendly on YouTube. Because really, there's the CEO of YouTube. She was quoted in the LA Times recently, and she said that YouTube reaches more 18 to 49-year-olds in the U.S. during prime time than the top 10 TV shows combined. And most kids are watching it on their phones, and advertisers are now going to YouTube. They're taking their money off of TV advertising and they're throwing it into YouTube. The number was 5.8 billion last year. This year it should be 7.8 billion is ad spending, and then they expect it to double up to 14 billion by 2019. So the advertisers are going there for a reason, and it's really because people under, I would say the age of about 24 years old is my estimate, just from people we've talked to. They don't have TV. They don't watch a lot of that. They watch Netflix. They watch Hulu. They watch things that are streaming. They watch YouTube. And like you said, Casey Neistat, didn't even know who the guy was a year ago. And kind of a funny story, but back in October is when I first learned about him, got addicted to his work. And in January, when we hit 1 million, it's one of those things like this, you talk about it, The Secret, or some of those things where you just throw things out there to the universe. In January, Lincoln and I had this idea, let's travel the world. And what if we opened it up in Casey Neistat's studio? So that was kind of the idea for the gold play button video. But we didn't even know Casey, never talked to him before. We followed him on Twitter. That was about it. in March, our rattlesnake video that we filmed in Phoenix, down where you're from, we cut a rattlesnake rattle open, and in a week it got 42 million views and just went completely viral. And it was one of those videos that we held on to for about 3 months, thinking it wouldn't be that good of a video. And then the internet just loved it and it took off. But Casey emailed us and said, hey, you guys are killing it. Would love to do a collaboration with you. And I already had we had this old idea back in January. We're going to cut this thing open in Casey's studio. It was like this, we like threw it out there to the universe. We're going to do this. It was like our vision. And then, so when he emailed, I wrote this huge email back like, Casey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to travel the world. Then we're going to cut it open to your thing. I went back and read the email and I'm like, that is way too eager. So I
a little thirsty.
Yep. I deleted the entire email and wrote back and said, yeah, that'd be cool. And then just sent that off to him. And so it's kind of funny.
He's like, all right, this guy's safe. I can trust him around my studio. Okay.
Yep. And so then once he said, yeah, it's got to be big, whatever it is. I'm like, well, our next big thing is we're doing this. What if we cut it open in your studio? He was like, yes, done. That's it. So it's kind of funny how things, this whole way feels like we've been helped, or we've had these visions, and we put it on our vision board, like this is what we want to see, and we've exceeded all those expectations.
And for people who don't know Casey's name, he's a vlogger that puts up videos every single day. He sold a series to YouTube years ago, and he is a proponent of this. Look, don't try to get a job at a major network. Don't try to create studio films. Like, YouTube is the direction everything's going. So he started just posting videos every single day to YouTube. And his following, as big as it is, I think you're actually right on his tail. What's he at, 4 and change million?
Yeah, he's at right around there. Yeah, so we've been kind of behind him a little bit.
Dan's going to wave at him as he goes by here in about 2 weeks. But anyway, so this particular video, I'll link to it. Dan went all the way around the world with his gold play button, which signifies that he has 1 million subscribers. And the culmination was him opening it in Casey's studio. Very cool video. But as I watched it, I thought, you're probably the only guy on YouTube history where the FedEx guy came back on subsequent days with different play buttons. Like, silver play button came on Thursday, gold play button came on Friday, platinum, diamond play button's probably getting wrapped up right now. It's insane. It's fun to watch. Actually, I got a question. You mentioned the rattlesnake video. What's cool about you, the thing you said about kids just dawned on me. Last night I was doing my homework and we were at my mother-in-law's house, and my brother-in-law Matt and his daughter Lila were there, and I mentioned I was interviewing you, and I said, he cuts things open, and Lila perked up and said, oh yeah, the rattlesnake video guy. And so you're right. I've probably talked to 2 or 3 kids who knew who you were immediately. Which means
it's a different thing for us. I mean, most people that know us, they know we're the same people as we were a year ago. We're not anything special, but yet we went to the BYU Arizona game in Phoenix this weekend, and throughout the game we were taking selfies with people that noticed us and came up and couldn't believe that they saw us. And in the airport, we take pictures with people. We rarely go out anywhere without getting pictures with kids, and they're just amazed to see us. And it's changed my whole mindset, because most people are probably, a lot of my friends are just like I was maybe 2 years ago, where you're 32 years old and up, where they feel like, why I only go to YouTube to watch people like how-to videos, or I need to fix something, I'll go on there. Like, why would people even watch your stuff, or why would you be able to make money? And it's been a major paradigm shift to see that there is so much power in YouTube, that there's a lot of YouTube celebrities that are bigger than actual movie celebrities these days, because that's what kids are watching, and that's what they feel such a connection with the YouTube stars.
That was, ironically, that was the conversation last night. Like, mine was more of who knew you could cut things open and millions upon millions of people would be fascinated by that. I mean, like, we were watching the Pylon one because everyone was talking about the game in Glendale between U of A and BYU last week. And there's some foam in it and a bag of sand, and I'm guessing it's got millions of views already. So it's crazy to me. And I want to kind of relate that to Shark Tank entrepreneurs, people who have been grinding for a couple of years. Maybe they're in that same age group, mid-30s, have a job, working on the side in business, and are trying to figure out why they haven't been able to crack the code yet. I mean, it sounds like you were in that position like the rest of us. Talk to us about the paradigm shift. Talk to us about trying new things and opening new possibilities.
It's interesting because a lot of people look at it and they'll be like, oh man, you just started and it just kind of took off. But I've tried things in the past. After I read 4 Hour Workweek, I remember I went and started a nutritional supplement company, antidepressants for women, like a natural supplement for women that can replace their antidepressants.
Were you supplying yourself? Like, you knew a guy, right? I mean, you're just skimming stuff off the warehouse floor.
Yeah, but it was pretty funny because I was selling Zoloft at the time. Like, I knew all about antidepressants, and I thought, I hired a scientist. We developed this thing, spent over $30,000 on this company, sold 2 bottles, shut it down in 6 months. But I learned so much from that. It's like a real world MBA and things I should do and shouldn't do. We experimented with other things on YouTube that didn't work. And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs, they see the success that people have and they think, or that people that have ideas and they think, man, that looks so easy. They don't, like, you just make a video every week. It looks so easy. It's fun, but it is a ton of work. And we had a lot of failures early on in different things that we tried. And finally we found something that we thought could be our niche and that we could get going with it. And it's been more successful than we could have ever imagined. But I think it's been maybe 7 or 8 years of just trying different things and trying to find like what is going to be our extra thing outside of my day job. And finally, as of July 1st, like I was able to step away from a job that I absolutely loved. But now it's come to the point where we have sponsors that come to us and they want us to feature their product, and I can make as much money as I made with my old job for a year in one possible video with different sponsors. So it's amazing to get to this point, but I feel like that's one thing that maybe a lot of people don't realize is it does take a lot of work, and it's a lot of trial and error, and don't be afraid to fail. It's okay to fail because you're going to learn something from it.
A couple things there that stand out. One is the editing. And for people who aren't into making videos, they might not appreciate how tedious editing can be. So when you say you're still staying up all night long and editing, do you dream of the day when you can just hire a team of 10 people to do it for you, like most people dream of winning the lottery or quitting their job? Or do you just figure that no one else is ever going to be able to do this the way that you want it done?
I've had a couple people edit a few of our videos, and I ended up, it cut down maybe 3 hours from my 8-hour edit, because there's something about making the video your voice, and the way that every video, even that pile-on one we did this last weekend, it looked like it was pretty straightforward, but it was probably 8 hours. As soon as the game ended, I got back to my friend's house in Gilbert, Arizona, and I stayed up the entire night till our flight was at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we flew out, and I had it edited, published it to YouTube, took off. But there is something to having your own fingerprint to it. That was one thing I was amazed by Casey Neistat. We spent 3 or 4 days together, and he edited every one of his videos. And there's no surprise that that's why he's having such success, because you can really feel his voice. But there are certain things that we're hiring a team for. Like we have an agent now that works on all the contracts and all the deals and all that side of things. We have a network that's helping pitch us to different brands and take care of our brand. And at some point we'll get somebody to manage our social media. But I've seen too many YouTube channels that people have spent tens of thousands of dollars. They think they have a great idea. They've been successful in other areas. They spend all this money on it, hire a team, and the channel goes nowhere. People just don't watch it. And so we've tried to really just stay as lean as we can to make sure this thing would really be a success before we actually start pushing some of those things off to people.
Yeah, it's interesting. And as you were talking about the editing, I guess it's something you never really get away from. But if you'd called me, I definitely could have come to Gilbert and brought pizza and totally distracted you from that. So keep that in mind next time you want to be unproductive. I'll be there.
I blew it.
What's really cool is when I was watching with my wife, I said, you know what I really love about this? Because I've got 3 little boys. We have a little girl on the way. The fact that you and Lincoln get to do this together. I mean, they have a take your son to work day. You have fathers and sons campouts. But the fact that you and he are essentially partners, it actually makes me emotional. Like I feel myself welling up now thinking about how you guys get to do this every single week. You'll do it probably forever, and then he'll be a YouTuber. I mean, does he have a choice at this point? I mean, his career's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, he would love to be. He's already said he's watched a guy named Devin Supertramp who has a great YouTube channel, and we've worked with him and met with him, and he wants to be a filmmaker like Devin and go to film school and learn all he can about filming and be much better than Dad is with his tripod and his camera. And I'm sure he will be. But it is special. I mean, next week we leave on Sunday. We're going to Singapore for a week. Never been to Singapore before, but it's just Lincoln and I. We're going to be there with YouTube doing some live broadcast, and we're going to the Formula One race. We have exclusive access. There's Imagine Dragons is playing at a concert. That's one of Lincoln's favorite.
Never
and all of it's paid for. Yeah. And it's just this amazing experience that I can't believe we get to go do these things together as a father and son, and other people are paying for it. I mean, I was the one that really was meaningful for me as a father was when our first real big branded video we did with Bill and Melinda Gates, and they flew us to the Philippines, and where I was born. I speak Filipino, and I actually went there on a church mission too.
You look Filipino. I was going to guess that. I just didn't want to distract you.
I know, it's pretty wild. I definitely don't look Filipino at all. But that was like on my bucket list, take my son to the Philippines. And we did it. Somebody else paid for it. We documented it on video and made this awesome video. And after we made the video, the Bill and Melinda Gates team liked the video so much that they flew us out to New York. And we got 10 minutes in the green room with Bill and Melinda Gates. And my 10-year-old son is asking the richest man in the world questions. And I just couldn't believe that all this came from a second grade science project, like just this little science project. And now he's at this point where he's talking to Bill Gates.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I hope that, people say, oh, I'm going to write a book. I hope you guys do a YouTube series on how this is my light bulb went off. You guys do a series on how this all happened, like that inspirational serial 30 for 30 type of documentary. This is how the Markhams found out what's inside. And I also take back my last statement. I don't think he's going to get into YouTube. I think your son's going to get into politics. He's like, I like people paying for all my expenses. And by the way, I was thinking like he's not that he is Trump, but in terms of notoriety, like he's a shoo-in for the president in about 35 years because he's going to.
Well, we did name him after a president, and I was born in the Philippines, so I can never be president. So if anybody in the family is going to do it, it'd have to be him.
Yeah, he'll already have the votes locked up. I mean, you're at you're 3.5 million already. So in terms of. You said something earlier about traveling. When I was traveling a lot more for work, I actually relish those quiet times at night. It sucks being away from the family, obviously, but you are so productive during those times. When people want to go out to dinner and go drinking and go out and stay up all night, I think there's such a missed opportunity there because when I'm at home, you don't have that kind of time to yourself. You're taking care of business. Talk to us about that schedule and going through that routine in terms of preparing to be a YouTuber.
It is tricky because you still want to network as much as you can and go to these opportunities. When we're in Singapore, we're going to be with some of the other top creators, and we're going to be with some of the top people at YouTube. And it's great networking. At the same time, we have all this content to make and all these videos to film and to edit while we're there. And I have a 10-year-old son that I don't want him to feel like he has a job. And so we're going to have some fun and do some goofy, fun things. And when he's tired, doesn't matter if there's a meeting, we're going to go back and put him to sleep. But it is tricky managing everything. And I've spent nights where Lincoln's in the hotel room, he's asleep, and I'm in the bathroom with the door shut with a little table, and I'm editing until like 4 a.m, just in there with the light on. So managing all of that is super tricky. For the last 11 years, my job, I've been covered 8 states as a biotech sales rep. So I was gone 3 to 4 days a week. And so one thing that I learned that is super important is to keep family near the top of the list of important things. And so when I'm home, even if it's on a Tuesday and I have other things to do, I'm going to spend time with the family, and I'm going to shut everything down and make sure that we spend good quality time together. And the YouTube channel has definitely helped us have fun memories as a family. And I don't show the rest of our family very often in the videos, but they get to go on fun trips with us. But even before YouTube, we were doing fun things like that. We're maybe not cutting stuff open, but we would go on these adventures places. And so we could just sit and cut things open for our videos, but we kind of made the decision early on that we're going to travel and educate people and show kids the world. And selfishly, it gave us an opportunity to hopefully be able to travel with our family and instead of just cutting something open, have a fun experience together and create some memories.
You mentioned your family isn't shown much in it. We were watching American Ninja Warrior during homework breaks on What's Inside. And there's a guy named Jeff Britton who fell about 3 seconds into his... did you watch American Ninja Warrior?
We just watched it this last weekend on the airplane flying somewhere.
Okay.
From Arizona. Yeah, it was on TV, and Lincoln and I were watching that.
The first guy that ever finished the course fell about 3 seconds in. It's the equivalent in the Olympics 100-yard dash of tripping off the line and like just laying there. And they said, how do you, usually people are so devastated and they're crying and they're embarrassed. And you go, how are you going to recover from this? What are you going to do? And he said, I'm going to go home and be an awesome dad and a great husband.
That's awesome.
I thought, yeah, I love this guy because, it's a game. So
exactly. And to tell you a kind of a crazy story that kind of relates to that, it's kind of different. But when I lived in Arizona, about 8 years ago, my sister had a baby, and right before she had her baby, she lived in St. George, Utah. Before she had the baby, she had a pulmonary embolism, which 9 out of 10 women die within 2 minutes of having it. They both survived. The baby has cerebral palsy. She'll never walk, never talk, but she's 8 years old. She's a sweet little girl. I lived in Arizona at the time. I'd never played the lottery before, and and it was interesting because I was talking to my brother who had played the lottery a lot, and I'm like, what's the deal here? And he told me all this stuff is when I was watching the show Lost, and the one guy on there won the lottery, and I'm like, what if I could win the lottery and pay for my sister and help her out? And so I had $50 that my mother-in-law gave me as a Thanksgiving Day present. I'm like, who gives that? This is like pointless money anyway, Thanksgiving Day present. So I put $50 on the Powerball. And as I did it, I was trying to be strategic with my finance degree. I'm like choosing the numbers in the gas station in Mesa, Arizona. And I'm going through it. And on the third set of numbers, my favorite number is 8. And I went to go put 8 down. I put the pencil on it. And as I was putting it on it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put it 6. I already put it on the previous one. The odds are it's not going to be good. Put 6 on that. The rest of them, I tried to be strategic, but I didn't really put much thought to it. It's just that 1 8. About 3 months later, I take this thing back to the lottery office, and it rings in the gas station. It's like, do, 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 do. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? He's like, well, you won over $400. I don't know how much it is, but you have to go to the lottery office to win it. So I go to the lottery office in Phoenix 2 days later, and I won $10,000. I was one number away. I got the Powerball right, 4 out of the 5 right, and the one that I missed was that number 8. I chose 6, the actual number that if I would have picked 8, it would have been $35 million we would have won. And that was the one that was in my mind. And it was funny because Lincoln was so little at the time that his favorite number was already 8. And he'd always say 8. My wife would just kind of cringe like, oh, 8, we could have won. But the crazy thing is now looking back, if we would have won that lottery, if we would have never moved to New Mexico, which then got me the job that took me to Utah, we would have never been in this school district. Lincoln would have never gone to Kaysville or this elementary school that he goes to. He would have never had the science project. We would have never started this YouTube channel, and we would have never had the success that we've had on this. And it's something that we've kind of grown and that's happened naturally. We would have never made the friends that we had along the way. And just this last week, just this last month, my niece had spine surgery, and almost died in the hospital. And for a week and a half, we had her 2 brothers over, and we filmed 6 videos that week. We did a mug week, and it kept their mind off of their sister almost dying in the hospital. And I paid them for every video we did. It's more money they've ever seen before. And I feel like we won the lottery in this YouTube thing. And if we would have won the actual lottery, we never would have won the lottery that was really meant to be for us. And we're still helping my sister and her family. And so life is interesting that way. Like you think that like winning the lottery is going to do it for you. The last ticket that I ever bought was in February of 2015 when I was in New Mexico. I'm like, I'll put $2 on this. It's a big number. I put that ticket in my back pocket. And I thought about it that whole week, and I'm like, you're an idiot. Don't buy the lottery anymore. Like, put your mind, like the mentality of The Secret and vision boards. Instead of like focusing on something that's such low chance, I started putting my efforts on, my thoughts on, what can I be successful at? And then once we spoke in November, it was in January, we had over 1 million subscribers. We spoke on a stage in front of hundreds of people. I opened up my wallet. I had the faded lottery ticket that I'd never even looked at before, and I just threw it in the trash. And I'm like, never again. Like, we've won the lottery. And that's kind of what I feel about this. Who knows if this thing dies in 2 years, it dies in 2 years. But we've been able to influence so many people around the world for good that we never would have been able to touch if it wasn't for this YouTube channel. We've been able to influence our family and help them out. And we've been able to give back to a lot of people. And so I'm just extremely grateful for this whole experience.
That story was awesome. I was pulling so many things from it as you're talking. One was a guy from New Mexico with a lottery ticket in his pocket. That brings up some symbolism. Walter White. But that's incredible. And the fact that you technically won the lottery twice with YouTube and with your real life lottery. I have a couple more questions because they're really interesting to me. One of them is, you mentioned Devin Supertramp. So I had his old partner on my show about a year ago, and he was talking about how everything got started. And I noticed with Devin, I think the challenge is you start getting these sponsors. I know he's got some high-paying clients. He's putting out these amazingly high-quality videos. How do you keep it relevant? How do you keep it fresh? You're lucky because you get to cut things open and you never run out of things. But some of the other YouTubers that are on the front lines, I look at that and say, now the challenge isn't getting a big following and working hard. It's staying on top staying number one. So talk to me about the challenge of doing that.
Right. I mean, it's so fresh for us of having this success that we still have a lot to learn with it. But we're doing other things to stay relevant and fresh. We're trying to do more of the vlogging side of things and introduce our family and do some things that aren't just cutting things open. We have a second channel called What's Inside Family that we just launched about 3 weeks ago, and it has about 54,000 subscribers on it. We have 2 videos. We just published a new one this morning.
Devin has one like that too, right? I just saw he's got a personal channel now.
Yeah, and Devin's a similar way where his videos are incredible. They've been so good for so long, but his face is not in it. He doesn't really have somebody in the videos that's like that connection. In our videos, we have Lincoln and I, and there's other people that cut stuff open on YouTube and they're not successful. And I think a lot of that has to do with people want to see the way that we do it and the fun way that we do it and see the relationship that we have and the way that we do things, where I think Devin now his second channel, he's been posting more often and he's getting his face out there. He's in some more of his videos. And I think as people get to know who Devin Graham is, they're going to feel even more of a connection to his channel and stay there and go with it. Casey Neistat, similar thing, where he's been a YouTuber for 4 or 5 years, and he had, after 4 or 5 years of making amazing videos for Nike and some other big brands, he had about 400,000 subscribers. But then he saw that the trend was you need to publish daily, and that's kind of what it is. Like, you need to get in YouTube for the YouTube algorithm to like you. You need to go regularly and go daily. And so he went daily, and he's gained 4 million subscribers in about a year and a half. And so there's different trends to keep up on, just to watch and see what people like and what they're doing, and it's okay to be flexible and be willing to change things on your channel. I think there's a lot of people that they stay with what they're doing forever, and sometimes you got to change things up and be okay to change it up, just because people change or things can get stale and dry. And so it may happen to us in the next couple of years. I'm sure at some point our growth will start to slow down a bit. It's nice that we have our built-in base, but we'll continue to do things to try to keep things fresh and fun. And brand integrations are a tricky thing, because we could do a brand video every week if we wanted to. Like, there's enough sponsors that come to us that will turn down deals all the time. But what we've learned is that we want to do, for example, the rattlesnake video. That video was our biggest video so far. We had a toy company, I won't name the toy company, but they reached out to us and said, hey, can you publish a video next week for us? We'll pay you $35,000. Just publish the video next week, and we'll send you these toys. You can cut them open. I was like, man, that's a lot of money. That's easy money. Like, it's just a toy. We can cut it open. And I showed it to Lincoln, and he goes, Dad, our viewers would think we're selling out. We cannot do that. We would totally be sellouts for that.
What did your wife say?
And I'm like, oh, you're right, Lincoln. I'm like feeling the money. I'm like, that's a lot of money. That'd be nice. But he's like, nope. So what do? We published the rattlesnake video that week, and it was our most successful video, but it should have been the toy video of this lame toy. And so sometimes you're going to do branded deals that are really good, and the integrations work well. But I think we've just learned that we want to be as authentic as possible and only support brands that we really support, and then try not to do too many branded videos so that we can have our honest opinion in these things.
So for personal story, I listened to too many other podcasters that were pretty successful, and my show was up doing pretty well. And they said, you know what, podcasting and YouTube kind of just don't mix. And I took that advice for about 2 years, and that was a huge, huge mistake. Listening to other people sometimes is pretty dumb. So let's listen to you. Tell us about what you should do if you're listening to this show and you're an entrepreneur who thinks, you know what, maybe I should give YouTube a go. Maybe I should start from scratch. What have you learned that you can tell them to help them get started?
Well, there's some things that I would say. First of all, I'd say experiment and try to find something that works. We have about 200 videos on our channel. 100 of them are hidden, and some of them, yes, are just family videos, but some of them are actually things that I thought, I wonder if this would take, and this would be a good idea for YouTube. This was before the What's Inside thing. And so another thing that I've found is that the YouTube world is a big enough focus group that you don't need your close family, and you don't need your family and friends and your social people to go on there and just give you instant feedback. And what I mean by that is, we didn't tell our friends and family on Facebook that we had a YouTube channel until we hit 100,000 subscribers. And
surprise!
Yeah. Hey, we're on YouTube. Here's a news article of some little hobby we're doing. And the thing that was nice about it is that I've seen people do this that have been successful on other YouTube channels, and they want to break off on their own. They'll make a video and post it on their personal Facebook and say, and even to all the other YouTubers, and say, check out my new endeavor. Look what we're doing. And then 5 or 6 months later, it didn't really take off. And then you kind of look at them like, oh, maybe they're not as good as YouTubers as you think, or maybe they're getting likes on their videos and positive comments that it's just from their friends and family. It's kind of like when you name a baby. Like if if you ask somebody what the name, after you've named the baby, like if you ask them before, they're going to give you your opinion, like, oh, I don't like the name John. That's not a good, whatever, whatever name. But as soon as you've named it, they're like, oh, that's great. That's a good name, even if it's the strangest name you've ever heard. It's kind of that same way with the YouTube channel. They're going to look at it with questionable eyes and go, I don't think this thing's really going to take off. Like if somebody would have watched our early on me cutting open a baseball, which is a terrible video of just me cutting it open for like 5 minutes, they'd have been like, this is a joke. He's doing a YouTube channel on this. But
Dan, you're a genius. Stick with it for sure. Let's know how it goes. Yeah.
But now it's like, now they can look back and go, wow, they really did something. I want to be a part of this. I want to support these guys. And another thing, the suggestion I have is watch the analytics. YouTube has so much data and analytics on every little thing you can think of. Study YouTube. For the first 6 months, every other day I would go onto Google and type in YouTube, click on the news button, and I'd read all the news articles on YouTube and what the latest thing is. And so, but be creative. It seems easy to just copy people and try to do their own thing, but authenticity is really rewarded on YouTube, and being creative works very well. You can take different things from different people, but being creative and authentic works. If you are a brand and you're looking to get on YouTube, I definitely see the value in it. There's either two options. You either pay people to do your videos, or you pay for Google ads, or you can create your own audience and create your own YouTube channel that shouldn't cost you that much. You don't need to create a show that's, that should be on National Geographic. You can create vlog style, keep it authentic, hold the camera. We could get a lot fancier with our videos, but people like that natural feeling of just holding the camera. And I think some brands could harness that and have people connect with the people that work at the companies, because there's definitely power in video. We'll publish a video, and we published a video on a Lokai bracelet, and we cut open. Have you ever heard of these Lokai bracelets before? Have you ever seen those things? They have so on one side,
magical wizard bracelets that give you balance.
Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah, they have water from Mount Everest in one side of it, in the little white bead, and they have mud from the Dead Sea on the black bead on the other side. And so they say, when you're at your lows, remember to stay hopeful. When you're at your highs, remember to stay humble. And so there are these really trendy bracelets right now that football players wear. Justin Bieber wears it. They didn't do like a formal advertising campaign, but they killed it on people just using it and social media. They have a huge Instagram following. So people kept asking us to cut open a bracelet, and I'm like, I'm not going to cut open a bracelet. That's dumb. But then once I looked into it, I thought, that is really cool. Let's cut open the bracelets.
Got it.
So we cut open 5 of these bracelets just in our office, filmed this little video at our house. Not one of them had water in them. And that was their whole claim. These were brand new from the place. I'm not saying that they don't put water in it, but I'm saying the 5 that we ordered, we didn't tamper with it or anything. They didn't have water in it. 2 days later, we got an email from the founder of the company, and he was just saying, he's like, hey, I apologize. I promise you we do put water in all of them. I'm going to go to our manufacturing facility and figure out what the problem is, see if we can get our scientists to fix the problem so stays in there longer. They took a hit from that, and they ended up running an authenticity ad where if you watch our Lokai video, there's a very high likelihood you're going to get a Lokai authenticity ad that they run before our video to try to combat what our video does. We didn't make any claims in there. We just said we didn't have water in ours and we were disappointed. But that was the moment that I realized we really have some power. Like, I can see why brands will pay, some YouTubers will pay six digits, over $100,000 just to feature the product in a video, because it has power. People, the kids and the families that watch our channel really believe in what we say and what we do. And for brands, if they can realize it's really not that much money to do something on YouTube, but the bang for the buck can be so great. Just look at Squatty Potty. There's a purple mattress that's out right now, but there's all these different things, these companies. Look at Shopkins. They're in all the stores now, but they started off on YouTube, just toy channels. So YouTube is the place to be if you want to reach teenagers, kids, families. It costs a lot less money than making a TV commercial, that's for sure. Yeah,
you mentioned Squatty Potty. Fiberfix just did a Harmon Brothers video as well, where they roll a car down in duct tape.
Oh, that was great, yes.
Have you seen that one? It's very good. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a lot of people who should look into that. Phenomenal.
Did I lose you?
So talk to us, in terms of your YouTube journey, you've done a lot of collaborations. I'd love to talk to you about the money side and hiring an agent. And when I had a guest on that was a partner in the Phoenix Suns, and he talks about how, like when you mentioned the secret, when you finally crack the code, money just comes rushing down the mountain at you. And I'd like to know how you kind of have navigated through that. But let's finish out by talking about YouTubers that people should be following that maybe they're not aware of. Where do you draw your inspiration from? Who do you not miss? Oh, I remember. Sorry, time out. I'm going to go back.
Yeah,
Casey
go for it.
Neistat's top videos for me, the iPod video and the New York cop video. You mentioned the power of like changing people's opinions. I thought those are the best ones he ever did that weren't just him vlogging. So totally agree.
Yep. I listened to him speak in Ireland. It was crazy. We were on this speaking panel for the keynote that evening. Was us and then Shonduras and then Casey. And one thing that he had talked about is just that, video has the power to choose a president, to bring down presidencies, to take down countries. And the power of video can be just so strong that it just creates this emotion. And you're right. He did those videos that made you change your opinion on things. And the most powerful video that he's done is his Nike video, and the one that I really take a lot of inspiration from, where he just goes and travels the world and runs around and does this thing for Nike. And it's interesting because I think that was the third video he did with Nike, and that was one where he basically didn't tell him what the idea was. He just did it himself and had the whole idea. And I would imagine they were sweating it out a little bit because they didn't know what the concept was. They didn't know what the video was going to look like weeks before he was actually going to deliver the video. But now he says that video kind of comes back to haunt him a little bit, because all the brands that come to him, they're like, I want you to make an inspirational video just like the Nike video.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, ugh. But it's interesting that that's the one that really stands out, when that's one thing that can be hard for some brands, is saying, I'm going to give the creative, I'm going to let this YouTuber and his son do a video like this, and this is their idea. It sounds a little different than what I would think. If my marketing team put it together, it'd be a lot different, like a commercial. But if brands really want to have their brand reach the target audience that YouTube channel speaks to, they're going to want to give that up and let the YouTuber say things in their own voice, and it'll go so much further for the brands.
It reminds me of Doritos in the Super Bowl, right? Where you have all these companies with their 8-figure marketing budgets, and then you have the one company that said, let's just do a contest and let Joe Schmo make their own. And those are always the best ones.
That's right.
So my last question is about other YouTubers. If people are newer to YouTube, or maybe there's someone you know about that we don't, talk to us about where you draw your inspiration, who you follow, and who's doing really great work on the platform.
We've already talked a lot about Casey Neistat, but I won't go over him more, but he's definitely the number one guy to look for right now. Okay. It's changed the culture of YouTube. Devin Supertramp, we mentioned him. He's another guy that just makes great videos and great brand integrations. Shonduras is somebody that we've worked with a lot. He's a Snapchat celebrity. That guy is phenomenal. He saw Snapchat launch and he decided, I'm going to go, and this is a new platform, I'm going to blow it up and be the top on Snapchat. He just was some sales rep for a snowboard company. He sure enough did. He ended up, he got his first brand deal, as the first ever brand deal on Snapchat. And then he leveraged that by hiring a girl in the Philippines, created an email that's based off of his mom's name. And this girl would research people that wrote articles about digital influencers and social media. And she would email this canned email that would say, hi, fill in the blank. I saw your recent story on fill in the blank. And I just wanted to tell you about my son. He's making these Snapchats, and brands are paying him, like Disney is paying him to make branded things. And I'm just so proud of him. And I think it would be such a cool story for you to see this. So he would get maybe 3 out of the 10 emails. He'd get a call within the next couple of days. He'd answer the phone and he'd be talking to somebody from Forbes or Time Magazine or DigiDay. And they would say, they'd talk to him about, hey, we want to do the story on you. That's really neat that you're making money off Snapchat and you're the first big person on Snapchat. And he'd say, so how did you find out about me? And they'd say, oh, your mom emailed me. And he'd go, oh, that's so embarrassing. I'm so sorry. And they're just like, no, that's great. It's great. So he killed it on Snapchat. Well, Snapchat's changed a lot. And even though he is killing it on Snapchat, doing a great job, has a great following, he saw YouTube and said, I need to be on YouTube. The content stays there. That's where people are watching. You can have more longevity on there. And so he reached out to us when he had 20,000 subscribers back in November and said, I'll help you learn the brand deal side of things and connect you with advertisers and teach you how to be more authentic in your videos. And if you can help my YouTube channel grow. So we've done maybe 8 videos together over the last however many months. And he's now at around 800,000 subscribers. And he's growing right now. The last month, he's gaining more subscribers a day than we are. And so it's really cool to see that. And I think, that's something to look at, is that there's definitely a ton of hustle in that he did.
Smooth operator, yeah.
Yep. And then also it's just collaborations are very big. And if you can collaborate with the right people that your audience will like, and sometimes you collaborate with the wrong people and your audience will just kill you, and they don't like it, and their audience for the other channel doesn't like it. So even though you may see a big name channel that you can collaborate with, just to make sure it's right for your brand and your audience.
Last question. I'm gonna let you go. Mm-hmm. Was this an idea that your wife thought was a good idea or a bad idea? Because I've been there, right?
Yeah.
Honey, I got this great idea. I'm gonna cut things open. Oh, Here we go again.
She is so frugal. When she saw the $4 and I told her, hey, if we can make $9,000 by the time Lincoln's 18 years old, he'll have enough money to go on his church mission. She was like, okay, go ahead, just don't hurt yourselves. And so I usually film it when she's taking naps. Like the Jawbreaker video is one of the ones that people are just like, you are doing that on your granite countertops, you're going to break it. The rattlesnake rattle, we did that on the actual kitchen or the dining room table. Like there's these things where she'll wake up and watch the videos. She'll be like, why did you do it in that room? What's wrong with you? But she's completely on board. She loves it. She supports it. And she's loved to see the success. She is our biggest fan. She watches the videos more than anybody. That gold play button video, she's probably watched it 60 times. It'll just cheer her up just to watch her boys and travel in the world. And so when I'm making the videos, a lot of times I throw little things in there because I'm thinking, what will my wife think? And years later, after all the fame or after all the people are gone, we'll always have these videos that are kind of like our family journal. And that's kind of the ultimate thing, that whether people are watching it or not, is if it's something that we enjoy and it documents our life, then it's important to us to do.
Well, Dan, I appreciate you coming on. I'm really excited, not just for you, but for all the people that will hear this, and it'll motivate them to pivot and make a change and perhaps get a slice of the success that you've had. Don't play the lottery, though. All right, if you're listening to this, do not.
Exactly.
You can't lose if you don't play. It's the old saying. Do me a favor. Say hi to Lila, my niece. She would love that. She's a big fan of the show.
Lila, you are awesome. Thanks for watching. Let me send you down some stickers or something so you can have those.
All right. Very nice of you. And Dan, thanks for coming on, and say hi to Lincoln, and much success to you going forward.
All right. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for jumping in to the Shark Tank podcast. Please subscribe to the show on iTunes and head over to sharktankpodcast.net to get the show notes from each episode and join the free Shark Tank Insiders list. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook at Shark Tank Podcast and on Twitter at Shark Tank PDcast.
I'm a big fan of money. I like it. I use it. I have a little. I keep it in a jar on top of my refrigerator. I'd like to put more in that jar. That's where you come in.